everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome back to episode number 52 of the Detroit Lions franchise here on Madden NFL 21. Today, we have the Year 2 Offseason Recap Free Agency period that was streamed this past Sunday afternoon. So in case you missed it, here is a little bit of the shortened breakdown version. So if you're excited for this one, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below, especially if you want more franchise content. So starting off the offseason period, we look at the retirements, and there were some big ones. Richard Sherman retired, Greg Olsen retired, Des Bryant retired. I had to recreate him back into the game, but he retired again. Cameron Wake, Jared Cook, Stephen Gostkowski. We had a couple of retirements. First one, not really a surprise. Danny Amendola retires. Kind of expected that given his age. And then free safety Anthony Levine retired. Not the biggest retiree for us, as I was probably going to let him test free agency this offseason anyway, but he does indeed retire. Taking a look at regressions, we had quite a few. As you can see across the screen, Jamie Collins went down a lot, so did Trufant, Matthew Stafford, Osemele went down, Patterson went down, but a couple of the key ones starting with Jamie Collins, the NFL Defensive Player of the Year a season ago, regressed. He went down -7 tackle, -6 pursuits, -2 play rec, and he went down to normal dev after he just upgraded to superstar dev. So that's a little bit of a bummer for us. Desmond Trufant also went down, -3 in the man coverage category and -1 zone. I still have interest in bringing him back, however. Coleman also regressed a little, -3 to man coverage. And then Matthew Stafford took a little bit of a dip. He lost 3 to his throw under pressure, short and mid accuracy, 1 to his throw power, and he's down to normal dev. So Matthew Stafford down to a 77 normal dev. Patterson also went down. His big thing, he went down from superstar to normal dev, so no longer has that superstar juke move. But here's our roster going into free agency, as you can take a look at it. I want to address quarterback real quickly. I know a lot of you guys said trade Stafford. Some of you guys say keep Stafford. Looking at the free agent quarterback class, as well as Stafford's regression, I don't really think anybody would be interested in trading for Stafford. So we are going to keep Matthew Stafford for the 2022 season. It's the last on his contract. So I want to address that. Stafford will be our quarterback in the upcoming season. So for re-signings, we're going to cut 3 players, starting off with running back Ty Johnson. Just don't really have a role for him. Middle linebacker Jelani Tavai will also get cut. He really regressed during the season and was benched at one point. And then Gerard Davis has not really progressed and grew like I thought he was going to, so we released him as well. So a little bit of a clean job at middle linebacker. Here's a look at our free agents, as you can take a look at them. A couple of big ones, Kerryon Johnson, Trufant, and Shelton are the big 3. We're going to start with Holton Hill. He was a dime corner for us. Came over in the preseason. We're going to withdraw an offer from him. And then next up, Jarrett Patterson, undrafted running back who has potential, but we already have Trey Ragas on roster, and they're kind of the same player, so we're going to let Patterson test as well. Quintez Cephas, a second-round wide receiver, we're going to let him test as well. And then Keelan Doss, I'm going to withdraw an offer from him too. So far, nothing but withdrawals. Undrafted linebacker Jake Hansen, we're going to withdraw an offer from him as well. And then a couple of linemen, Shamar Stephen is going to be withdrawn, and then Jalene Johnson will be withdrawn, and then defensive tackle John Penisini will be withdrawn as well. One thing I forgot to highlight, Danny Shelton. One of the house rules I have is 180-plus overall player has to test free agency before we even do negotiations. So we also withdrew an offer from Danny Shelton, who I wanted to test anyway. A couple of other withdrawals, Cameron Good, Ben Schwazzle, a couple of depth players that I'm still interested maybe in bringing back after the free agency period, but we're not in the best cap spot, so I didn't want to give any unnecessary money to backups right away. But now we hit the first big one, starting with Kerryon Johnson. Johnson wants a 5-year contract. He split carries the past 2 years with Swift, and I am interested in bringing back to roster. However, I don't really want to give him a 5-year deal. I'm hoping Johnson is one of those running backs in free agency who doesn't draw a lot of interest, and we can pick up on a shorter contract later in free agency. Offered him a 2-year, $11 million deal, knowing that he's probably not going to accept it, which he does not. And then the franchise tag, just in case you are curious, would be $13 million for 1 year. We don't really have the space for that, so Johnson will indeed test free agency. Justin Trufant, though, is somebody who I am interested in bringing back. His man coverage isn't what it used to be, but he's been a solid number 2, number 3 corner for us the past couple of seasons. So he wants a 1 year, $6.16 million contract. I'm going to go ahead and offer him a 1 year, $6.3 million contract. Try to give him a bigger deal than what he wants, hopefully that he resigns. But Desmond Trufant has decided to test free agency as well, so that's a little bit of a bummer. So we're going to have to go to free agency if we want to bring back Trufant. Joachim Bobenmeyer, our long snapper, has also decided to test. I thought he would accept immediately since he's so low. And then Kelechi Osemele, our starting right guard. I have interest in bringing him back as well. However, he did regress a little bit, but he's still a very good pass blocker inside. So I offered him a 1 year, $5.67 million deal, and he's going to test free agency as well. So far we've had no luck re-signing anybody. That's going to bring up Romeo Okwara, who has been a very good rotational pass rusher for us the past 2 seasons. 11 sacks in the past 2 years. We offer him a 1 year, we offer him a 1 year, $2.51 million deal, and he does accept. So we get our first re-signing in Romeo Okwara. The rest of the way, we're going to withdraw offers from a lot of these players. Christian Jones and Joe Dahl were starters a season ago. They will not be brought back. Tyrell Crosby, a backup tackle, will not be brought back. Punter Jet Fox will not be brought back as well in this period. I do have interest in maybe signing him in free agency, maybe even post-free agency, but not right now. And then CJ Moore, we're going to let CJ Moore test as well. So far, we've only re-signed one player, that being Romeo Okwara. So now let's go to free agency. In Sim 2 Phase 1, we have $30.12 million in cap space. And there are going to be a couple of big-time free agents at the top of the board. Let's take a look at this free agency class, as we have $30.12 million in cap, like I said. And here is the free agency class of the year, starting off with wide receiver Devontae Adams, J.J. Watt, Mitchell Schwartz, Harrison the Hitman Smith, Michael Gallup, Orlando Brown. A lot of big-time heavy hitters here at the top of this free agency class. But before we even get to free agencies, Justin Coleman, we saw him regress a little bit, and I'm actually going to add him to the trade block, try to get a couple of assets for him. I think Okudah is willing to take that jump to starting quarterback potential. Speaking of the quarterback class, here is the quarterback free agency class. It is abysmal, to say the least. Part of the reason why we are bringing back Stafford next season. So the first player I want to talk about, Kerryon Johnson. He's drawing a little bit of interest and from the Chiefs and the Steelers. He wants that 5-year deal, and I don't really want to give him a 5-year deal. So I took a look at a couple of other options. Jordan Howard was another man I had in mind. He's drawing a couple of offers as well. He's a little bit older, wants a 3-year deal, has a lot of the same skill sets as Johnson. And another one of my house rules is early in free agency, I don't give them shorter contracts than what they want, because in real life, if a player wants a long-term deal and he's a highly marketed free agent, he's going to get that long-term deal. So we started negotiating with Kerryon Johnson. I negotiated down to a 5-year, $20 million deal. That would put us in first place. However, I do want to save some more money, so I thought about maybe $3 million a year, but that would put us in second place. So going back and forth, now I'm going to increase it back to the 20 mil, maybe a little bit more salary, less signing bonus. He doesn't like that as much. $19 million a year would put us in first place, and we're going to stick with that for right now. Laken Tomlinson, back to the offensive line at left guard. I thought he was a solid option. We got to replace Joe Dahl, so I'm going to give him a 1-year, $5 million contract. And then on the other side, talked about having interest in bringing back Kelechi Osemele. I'm going to give him a 1-year offer as well. We're going to negotiate it for $3.7 million. Offer that to him, 65 points. Hopefully he resigns that. And then lastly, got to talk about right tackle. Another offensive line spot we're going to have to replace. And I think the best option for us would be Rick Wagner, the former Green Bay Packer, stealing him from a division rival. He's got a nice all-around skill set, I believe, and is the 19th best right tackle. So we're going to offer him 1 year, $5 million as well. Now, onto the defensive side of things, we made a lot of clearing at the middle linebacker spot. And I was going through the middle linebackers. There's one guy who interests me, Joel Ayegunbunwe. I know I butchered that, but he is a nice, fast middle linebacker. He's got a lot of good block shedding and run defense, and he could do a little bit of zone coverage. So his skill set really intrigued me. So we're going to offer him a 1 year, 2 years, $1.9 million contract. But in order for us to take that next leap, we need that next big player. And in my opinion, Harrison Smith fits perfectly with the Detroit Lions. We need help at safety now. Harrison Smith has familiarity with Mike Zimmer in their time at Minnesota, so I think he would be the perfect fit in Detroit. Now, I thought about giving him the fair offer. That would only put us in second place. So I looked at other options. Jesse Bates could be an option. He wants a 5-year deal, however. So in order to negotiate with Harrison Smith, I decided to cut Tomlinson's offer in half, give him only $2.5 million. That way I can offer a little bit more money to Smith, and we're going to give him a 2-year, $21.8 million contract. That puts us first in the points category. So at the end of phase 1, we have 6 negotiating offers on the table. You can see them on your screen there, as Smith, Johnson, Tomlinson, Osemele, Wagner, and Joel. So let's simulate stage 2 now and see who will be the newest Detroit Lions. And the big one right away, Harrison Smith has rejected our contract. He will go with the 49ers offer. We do, however, get Rick Wagner and Joel. But taking a look at a couple of the big signings, Watt goes to Cincinnati. Schwartz also goes to Cincinnati. So Bengals being big spenders. Smith takes less money to go to the 49ers. Short goes to the Rams. Pouncey also goes to the 49ers. And Desmond Trufant goes to the Bengals. In the live stream, I totally forgot about Desmond Trufant. I forgot to offer him a contract. That was a big bummer to me, as now we got to address cornerback. I forgot to re-sign Trufant. Next best option is Logan Ryan, who's a solid corner. However, he is a little pricey. Going down the list, there's Avonte Maddox, who's not very good in zone. Garyon Conley, who is also not very good at zone. And we play a lot more zone style. And then there's Daryl Worley, who's a lot more well-rounded and a little bit younger and has good press. And this past year, he went back to Carolina, the team that drafted him, and he played really well for the Panthers. He led the team in interceptions, and he's looking to turn that breakout season into a contract, and we're going to try to give him that contract. We're going to offer Worley 2 years and a contract of $6.28 million. See what that gets us with him. Now back to Kerryon Johnson. He didn't sign with anybody in phase 1, and now he's drawing a lot more interest in phase 2. We're not going to be able to keep up, so I'm going to withdraw the offer from Johnson. He will not be back with us next season. So in order to find Johnson's replacement, I looked at Jamal Williams. He was a power back last year in Green Bay, and he's got a lot similar skill set to Johnson. So I think he could be a potential replacement. He wants a 3-year deal, so we're going to give him 3 years, $9.15 million to potentially be that Johnson replacement. Now I was going back through the linebackers again, and I saw Foyesade Aluaukun, who escaped my mind in stage 1 and hasn't drawn any interest, but he is a very speedy linebacker who can cover. Not very good in the run game, but I think he could be a good nickel linebacker and potentially have slot corner skill set. So we're going to offer him 3 years, $15 million to be that replacement at right outside linebacker for Christian Jones. So we struck out on Harrison Smith. There's still Jesse Bates. However, 5 years, $30.5. The fair offer will only put us in 4th. So he is not a reasonable option for us, considering we're still stuck in cap hell. So we're going to simulate to the end of phase 2. And the newest Lions will be Jamal Williams. He does accept his contract. And that's all we get in stage 3. Now, this is the last stage where we can negotiate contracts, so I am going to increase Tomlinson's a little bit to $3.17 million a year. And that's all we're going to do in stage 3. So I'll have to see if we get our options in stage 4. And we do get the rest of our players that we're negotiating with. Foyesade signs, Daryl Worley signs, Kelechi Osemele signs, and Laken Tomlinson signs. Here's where the other big names went. Davante Adams is going to the Giants. Thankfully, he is no longer in our division. Jesse Bates goes to the Saints. And Chenna Owosu also goes to the Saints, so they're trying to look to get back to the Super Bowl. So that's going to do it for the free agency period. Here's a look at our roster going into the NFL draft. Didn't make a lot of big time signings, didn't get that one bona fide star since we missed out on Harrison Smith, but we have a pretty interesting roster. We improved the offensive line in my opinion and got a couple of linebacker help with Foya Sade. I think he's going to be a very good right outside linebacker. And then Daryl Worley, while he's not Desmond Trufant yet, I do think he has some potential ahead of him. But we're still weak at safety. Could use maybe another linebacker and then maybe another wide receiver as well. Didn't really look to go that route. Oh, and we need a punter. So next episode will be the NFL draft. That will actually be live streamed this weekend. I'm going to aim for Saturday night, so we're going to do another off-season live stream. Now, I know I haven't highlighted the prospects a lot, but I do have a special episode coming this Friday. I'm going to do a little bit of a first-round mock draft, so that way you can take a look at the top prospects in the draft class and maybe predict where you think they're going to go. But that's going to do it for the free agency recap. Let me know what you guys think of our moves down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe down below, especially if you want more franchise content, as year 3 is going to be coming up shortly. This is Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.